This is Allison. I am now here inside rather than doing an outside video. I want to talk just a little bit about sound as an important ecological variable. You can ask questions and you can collect some interesting information by recording sounds in an environment. I study birds, and so actually for many, many years ornithologists have been taking recordings of their survey data, and that's an important piece of evidence that there were actually the birds that were present in that habitat. It's really useful to us when we're doing point counts and other time types of surveys to have that archive. We can go back if we couldn't figure out what we were hearing, or there were so many birds singing at once that we couldn't identify everything. We can have that recording, and that can supplement the data that we collect in the field. And so we were going to do a series of sound recording workshops, or actually a single whole day of sound recording if we were going to meet on campus. But actually I've been using my phone recently just to see what kind of quality data you can collect with a smartphone, and I've been getting pretty good data. I'm going to post some recordings I've been making onto the Canvas site so that you can also see them and understand what they're like. There's a free software package called Audacity. It's a sound editing software package, and you can use that to visualize sound data and actually collect information that can be used in a field ecology project. I have an iPhone, and so all smartphones have a microphone in them, and you can use these microphones to record sounds. Now there's a few things you need to know. I'm going to just go to the recording, this sort of default recording application in iPhone, which is just called Voice Memos. It looks like this. And if I want to collect a voice memo or collect an ambient sound recording, I just hit the red button and it will start recording. Now, to get the best possible recording, you're going to want to make sure that this is recording in high resolution. And so to do that, you're going to need to go into the settings of your phone. Depending on what phone you use, it might look slightly different. But for iPhone, if I go into the settings menu and then click on the Voice Memos app, there is actually a little field here that says audio quality. And usually the default audio quality is what they call compressed. It's equivalent to something like MP3 format. And what that allows you to do is to make lots of recordings without taking up a lot of space on your phone, or making the files are always really pretty small. However, for something like a field ecology project, you really need to have uncompressed data collection. And so I selected here what is called lossless on an iPhone. You may have other options depending on the phone you have, but you want to pick the least compressed recording format possible on your phone. And so once you've done that, you can go out in the field and make a series of recordings. I have some that I'm going to post on Canvas that you can download Audacity and then visualize the data, and I'll walk you through some steps about using Audacity in another video. But you can make species lists. You can determine species if you're not so good with your bird identification by ear to be able to say everything that you're hearing in the field. You can bring this recording back and start using other resources to figure out what you heard. You can look at questions relating to human noise and how that noise might influence the sounds you hear in landscapes. There are other organisms that make sound in landscapes, like frogs and insects, that you could also be quantifying. And so when you make recordings as part of a field ecology project, you actually have quite a lot of very rich data. It's always important, like with any other kind of data that you collect, that you do it in a standardized format, that you're always using the same microphone, that it's always on the same settings, and you're taking recordings for the same intervals of time. And it's also really important to try to minimize the noise that you make. So walking around makes noise, breathing makes noise. You'll hear a few human noises in the recordings that I post. Going early in the morning is usually the quietest time to go, and it's definitely when the most birds are singing. It's when you're most likely to get the most accurate survey information if you're studying birds. I'm going to just play a little bit of a recording I made this morning in a residential area that had some car noise and some house noise and other types of noise in the environment. But there were actually also a lot of birds out. It was at about 7 o'clock this morning. If I were doing this as a project, I'd go out even just a little bit earlier. I'd be tracking when dawn is happening and going out about at the time that the sun is rising. But here's just a little You probably can hear some of these sounds. So there are lots of birds in these recordings, and then you'll hear some other sounds as well. So this is a great type of information to think about collecting. It will help you with your bird identification skills, but then there's this whole other field of research in ecology called bioacoustics. And so bioacoustic research does not always focus on birds. And so there's a lot of kinds of questions you can answer with this type of information. All right, thank you.